Derek Favors, left block, working Thompson, puts the shoulder into him, spins to the baseline, fading back jumper, good. Derek Favors' offense developing before our eyes.
Your random Jazz highlight comes from January against the Cleveland Cavaliers as Derek Favors hits that shot. More of that this year, or a different style for Faves? It's all coming up. That's not the focus, but we'll mention that. It's tip off. It's what day is it? It's a Wednesday. It's pow. All right. So one of these days we got to get opening music. You're right. Then play the highlight, get rid of the drum roll, and roll into the show. You're right. It's probably time to do such a thing. Maybe somebody wants to make me special music. Does anybody want to make music to open tip-off? Tell me. We're a little limited on what we can do, but we'll try to figure something out. All right, I hope you're well. For those who have not heard, it's kind of been murmured around the internet. This afternoon, Quinn Snyder is hosting a NBA training camp for the media. I am very crafty in avoiding things of this nature, except for this time I'm not. So I don't even have basketball shoes. It's not good. So I might bring out my old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar white Adidas. Thinking. I was actually kind of debating whether I was going to go like costume style and like just get knee pads and old like 70s like long and get it like a wig and look like the 70s hippie with like the knee pad, Rich Kelly with my knee pads and arm pads and dive, be that guy. We'll see. But actually it's pretty cool. So what he's going to do is take us through the offense and what they're trying to run and some of the defensive schemes and then let us try to run it in open court and we'll be It's one thing if you're Aaron Falk and Jody and David James, and you're not. Well, Aaron Falk and David James are probably Aaron Falk and Jody are not the best examples of this. So if you're David James and some of those guys, and you're not, and then if you're Aaron and Jody and you're not on the plane, the amount of garbage that I am going to get for how bad I am and what's coming. The only one who might get more garbage can be Tony Jones, who thinks he's good enough to be an NBA player, and so therefore Tony Jones is going to like try to impress. But my goal is to see if I can get through the whole thing without ever taking a shot. I'll rebound and pass. I mean, I'm the kid who went playing hoops in JV. The JV coach suggested maybe that I pass and rebound more. Well, actually, I think he might have suggested I pass and rebound only. Yeah. And then he was the baseball coach, and midway through sophomore year, he said to me, have you thought about maybe just conditioning for baseball? Which is what I did, and then played a little in college until I had a California zip code as an ERA, and then that was the end of that. So anyway, that's today. So tomorrow's tip-off actually might be worth it because I'll tell some stories about it and let you know how it is, and then hopefully there aren't too many pictures of me. But I think I'm going the white Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm debating whether I go pull up black socks, try to look as ridiculous as possible, or whether I try to fake it a little bit and look like I have a clue. I'm not sure what the... Let me ski. I'm good at that. I'm a moderate mountain biker. I'm a moderate golfer at this point. I'm old and white is really what it's come down to. Like, right? I mean, could I be a bigger elitist? I ski, I golf, I mountain bike, I road bike. Somebody should just be flipping the middle finger at me right now with, like, an absolute disdain for that little run right there. Let's see. The only sports I do take... okay, never mind. I just wish I'd shut up before this segment started. I have a question for you guys, if you're still listening. I can't imagine what the new Google applause bar at the bottom is going to be over that last little segment right there. They have this new thing on the bottom which allows you to say what you like, which I guess is good, because if I were to take the time and go back and watch all the old shows, I could find out what you liked and what you didn't like. The chances of me doing that are zero, but it, in theory, would actually be a good idea. However, since we all know how much I get paid for this and how much it's in my job description, and I probably don't need to be spending any more time than I already am on it. All right, transition sentence while I take a sip of my coffee. It's a Guatemalan pour-over today if I just want to stay with my elitist bull crap I've been giving you all day long. So anyway, I have a question for you. I'm trying to format tip-off a little bit for the off-season. The show has gotten much bigger. Our audience is probably fourfold what it was when we started tip-off, maybe even last year, but 2 years ago. And there's much more of a national audience to what we've had before. And I think you guys who would listen to this are very national audience based too. So I'm thinking about, and I want your feedback on this, would this piss you off or would you actually like this? I was thinking about, once the season starts, I would do the NBA 5, starting 5, which would be kind of 5 minutes to open tip-off every day on the league. There's kind of the big things of the league. Now, if there happens to be something that's bigger that's going on in the league that relates to us, then I would, and then hit into the Jazz. So that, it's not quite like the old version of Shot Clock when I did Locked On Sports, but it would be kind of, all right, let's go 5 minutes right now, boom, let's go. If I had production, it would be cool. We'd put a little music bed under, but I don't have that. I don't have that capability on the road. Frankly, I don't really have that capability here. I do. I could do it actually here. So anyway, that's the vision. Just kind of hitting this right off the shoot. Boom. Here, let's go. Hit it a little faster than 6 minutes of me babbling like right now, and go. Tell me what you thought on that. Third business thing. I know we're 6 minutes in, and all I've done is crack bad jokes and talk business with you. The Utah Jazz interaction line is back. With Clint had this yesterday. He kind of got the exclusive on this, so I thought I should probably comment on it. By the way, if you have a comment on these things, you best send it to me at dlock09@utahjazz.com, or you can send it to me at dlock at dlock09@gmail.com or dlock@utahjazz.com. Okay, the interaction line is back. You guys are really, really important to me on this one. There's 3 things we're going to do with the interaction line this year. I'm hoping, as we did last year, that if you use the interaction line, you get tickets to an upcoming game. There are 3 things on the interaction line that are really, really important. One is asking questions to a player. If any of you want to get on board early for this, that would be terrific. If you have a question you want to ask to one of our players, then I can get this done, really right away. Media day coming up, training camp, and have them ready for the preseason. New number this year, it's 801-200-3738. 801-200-3738. Make sure you put your name and your email address on the back end of it. Second thing is, if you have a question for Boone you want to ask during the broadcast, NBA history, something about the Stars, something about Ron, something he sees, what he sees out of Quinn, anything like that, do that also. 801-200-3738. And the last one that's really, really important to me and brand new, and really I hope this works, and you're the key to it, is, and tell your friends about it, and is I want people to nominate their Utah Jazz fan of the night. We all know someone who's an awesome Jazz fan, that whether it's our grandma or our grandfather or our friend or even our little kid who's just so into the team. I want you to call in and tell us about those people, and then we'll play what you said on the air that night about that person. They become our Utah Jazz fan of the night. So those are the 3 things on the interaction line this year. 801-200-3738. 801-200-3738. My vision for a 4th is that when great plays happen and cool things happen during a game, you pick up that phone, and maybe if you're even inside the arena or home, and you leave us a message, and then we turn it around in the game. That's my ultimate dream right there. It's old school. It's not Twitter. It's not you tweeting. It's your voice, your energy coming through real live. That's my dream. If we can get to that, it'd be great. All right, let's get to the Jazz. Sorry for the long intro. Trevor Booker's really interesting to me. I was with Ron yesterday at the open gym, and he jumped out to Ron also and how he's playing and what he's doing. And here's an interesting note on Trevor. His rookie year, he shoots 5 of 31 from 16 feet or more. 5 of 31. That's bad. And so I think early on in his career, he gets kind of this book on him. He's an undersized, not particularly great defensively, just around the rim player. But he's really evolved out of that. If you look at his last 3 years, he's a combined 79 of 199, or 40% from 16 feet or more, which is above the league average. So now you've got an above the league average shooter from 16 feet or more. League average is 37%. And he's got pretty good athleticism. He's got a decent handle, and he plays with great energy. Defensively, he is small, and that's shown in his statistical numbers. He has not been good defensively. So, it was interesting. It'll be interesting to see him. I think that's worthwhile because frankly, the next step is I want to watch his shot a little bit and see how far he can stretch it. There's no reason to think he's playing the 4. Part of our sets, the 4 gets to the corner for 3s. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets there, and they also, ideally you really want a 4 who can shoot the 3 from the top, because then you roll and replace and bring the 4 up, and it stretches the defense in a different way than the corner 3. But I'm not sure that's a different shot and going to be more difficult. Speaking of 4s, Enes Kanter, had a nice time with him yesterday. Actually, he needed a ride, took him a ride. It's actually interesting, Enes and I had this very serious conversation about the Muslim faith, and we had a conversation about how pleased he was that Obama had pointed out that ISIS is not the rest of the Muslims, that they don't represent Muslims, and Enes was very kind of insightful on the impact it has when you see these crazy videos about beheadings, and everyone thinks that's a Muslim, and it was interesting to hear his perspective, a sign of a little bit he's growing up a little bit. He's an interesting guy. He played 5-on-5 yesterday. He really did some fabulous things. His touch is just great. He looks good. He's working out hard. His body looks good. So he's kind of back at it and getting ready for training camp and finally ready to go a little bit. Yesterday we held a conversation about Dante Exum. I think I had some expectations I threw out there that were low, and I got kind of some feedback from people that they were a bit stunned. And do I think it's no. Let me clarify what I think's going on here with Dante. This year for Dante is simply an introduction and an understanding and a building of a base to me. And what I mean by that is, if you think of what Dante's done, he's played Australian high school basketball, which, is it that different than probably Olympus High? Right? Maybe not. I don't know where high school basketball entirely is today, because I haven't played it in a while, and if we've talked about my ability so far, I'm not particularly good. So the way I look at this a little bit is, if you think about what he probably did, there's no program there, right? You go to Duke for a year, you come in your first day, you're getting your strength and conditioning program, you're getting your body rehab, you're getting your nutrition, you're getting your all of the things you're going to do. Now, there's been some. He's been in the Australian Basketball Institute, which is building the national team, but he's never been, just the basic body maintenance that he's going to have to do to survive an 82-game schedule is brand new. That's a huge part of this year for Dante, is understanding, I know I'm 19 and my body, I got to maintain this. Think about Rudy Gobert. Maybe you haven't seen him yet, but you watch him in FIBA. A year ago to what he did, what Rudy really did last year is Rudy decided, I understand strength and conditioning, body maintenance, how much I have to work. And while it was frustrating to him because he wanted to play all the time, and he wasn't playing, he would go with Mark McCowan, our fabulous strength and conditioning coach, and the guy and the crew, Isaiah and the rest, and work really, really hard, to the point which he was probably tired by game time, understanding that the big picture, the body maintenance, the building the base, the development of his strength was far more important than game 67 was on that given night. And by doing that, look where Rudy is today. Dante's really the same thing this year. He's got to get stronger. He's got to understand how to maintain his body. He's got to understand how to eat. He's got to understand how to rest. He's got to understand the burden of this schedule. It's all building the base. It can be as simple as, I'm guessing that 90% of the time Dante Exum has ever played a basketball practice or game, he walks out of the gym afterwards. Just walks straight out. Right? He's 18 years old. Play, leave. No. You're about to spend 3 to 5 hours a day on the court every day for 9 months. We're going to ice. We're going to lift. We're going to stretch. This is brand new stuff. That's how raw we're talking here. That's what this. So when I say I don't think Dante Exum is going to be the number 2 point guard as Scott Howard Cooper had him on the list yesterday, and I'm not even sure if he'll be, because that's what this year is about. And none of it has anything to do with where Dante Exum is in 12 months, 24 months. Well, it has everything to do with where he's in 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months. I guess what I'm saying is that nothing you see, frankly, this year is probably going to impact where he is in 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months compared to what is going on behind the scenes with Dante. And that's what this year is going to be all about for him, and have him understand and see whether he can learn and get his body to understand the NBA. So that's that was my thought on that. I hope I explained it a little bit better. Zach Lowe, boom, another home run for Lowe. And Zach Lowe continues his streak of 73 brilliant columns in a row at Grantland. This one's about Kemba Walker. It has huge local relevance on 3 parts. One, he's talking about whether Kemba Walker's an $8 or $9 million player or a $12 million player. And it's a long time before we do this with Trey Burke. But Kemba Walker and Trey Burke are pretty similar players at this point. They're both Trey's a little bigger and longer. Both of them are struggling around the rim. Both of them have had a hard time adjusting to the NBA game. But hopefully I'm not a Kemba guy. I don't like point guards that shoot 40%. Trey shot 38 last year. I'm going to give Trey some time because statistically, year number 1 point guard performance does not translate in any way, shape, or form to what they do in year 3, 4, or 5. There's no translation at all. So therefore, we'll give Trey some time on it, but Kemba's beginning to get to a point where I think he's a career 39% shooter. I believe my comment on him coming out of the draft is I thought he would never have a season where he shot 40% in an NBA season. That's probably a lack of knowledge on my part about the impact of small sample sizes, that frankly a season he could probably get hot for a short period of time and then skew a sample size. And he might have done it last year. I don't think so, though. I'm looking it up right now to see how far my foot has just gone in my mouth today. Kemba, in his first 3 years in the NBA, has shot 37, 42, and 39 for 39.8. So with a 32% three-point shooting percentage. The one thing on Kemba, though, that is something that Trey has to do, in year 1, Kemba shot 33 free throws a game and then 4.5 the next 2 years. Now, partially because his minutes increased, but even his per 36-minute stuff were up slightly. Trey's lack of going to the free throw line, as we've talked about an enormous amount, is frankly, to me, the number 1 issue in his career. He cannot survive as an efficient, in my opinion, NBA point guard going to the free throw line 1.8 times per 36 minutes. I mean, if you think of Kemba, who I just talked about, he's going to line 4-point-something times per 36 minutes, and Trey's going 1.6 times per 36 minutes. You can't. I mean, it really. I could do, here. Let me back. This is going to be a little, for those of you that are on the audio version, stick with me here. Let's go to Basketball Reference Brilliance here for a second, and let's go run Player Season Finder, and I'm going to have to put in the key thing I'm going to look for here is we're going to do guards. And we're going to do free throw attempts. You can see my computer's really moving quickly. Free throw attempts. What did I say? He was at 1.6. Let's go 1 point. Let's give him a little freedom. Actually, we'll go to 2. 2 free throw 6 times 36 minutes. I got to put something in here. He's got to play more than 70 games. And let's put in minutes played. Let's say they got to play 20 minutes a game, because otherwise I'm going to get just every person in the world. So that's 100. I think that's 1,400 minutes. That's probably not enough. Let's put in 1,500 minutes played. I think we'll get enough. See what we get here. Do we get this? Or do we get too many? We just got too many. I need another. We have way too many. I need to find another filter here somewhere. But let's work with it. I'm trying to figure out what other filter I can put on this to. Let me look. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if I increase the minute total a little bit. But if you start to look down this list, Jason Kidd's going to pop up, but then when you get to fill up point guards, which is part of the problem. Here, let me modify the search, and we will increase. Let me see what I get if I search by minutes played. All right, so that's interesting. Klay Thompson jumped in here from 2013-14. Wouldn't have suspected that. Only 145 free throws attempted. So who do we get? Point guards, let's just run down it. High minute played. Pooh Richardson, Damon Stoudemire, Alvin Williams, Lindsey Hunter, Mookie Blaylock, Jason Kidd, Derek Fisher, Muggsy Bogues, Mookie Blaylock, Jason Kidd, a 35-year-old Mark Jackson, Jose Calderon at 26, pretty good shooter. Kirk Heinrich, Kenny Anderson, back from 2001-2002, post-injury at 31 years old. And now we start to get into a nerve-wracking group of guys that don't last in the league. Matt Maloney, Charlie Ward, a 37-year-old Gary Payton who became a spot-up shooter, Howard Isley, Luther Head, Jason Williams in Memphis at the back end of his career, Mario Chalmers currently, Steve Nash, Patty Mills. So it's not unheard of. Though frankly, Trey Burke should have shown up here by now. Wonder what I did wrong on my search. But it's a little unnerving in the sense of these were all organized, also searched by win share of success. When you look at that number, it starts to drop. You know, Trey's. This didn't search. Once I did the search, it's got off the minutes played search. Once so this is a tough group. I mean, if we start looking at this now, I've searched it organized it by minutes played. So guys who play a lot of minutes who end up not shooting free throws at a point guard: Pooh Richardson, Mike Bratz, Mookie Blaylock at 32, Kyle Macy, Steve Blake, Pooh Richardson, Eric Snow, point guard, Luther Head, Derek Fisher, Peyton as a youngster. That's interesting. Didn't realize that. Oh, yeah, that's fascinating. 97 free throws for GP his first year. Matt Maloney, Steve Blake. I could have put some year limits on this one that probably would have been a better indicator. So anyway, that did not go as well as I had probably hoped. But I think what you get is that number on Trey Burke, 1.6 free throws per 36 minutes, is a problem. Let's go and look at it for the last. Take one more second and look at it the last 10 years if you want to. If you don't think that's fair and you should do 20 years, we'll do that. But this will be a much shorter sample. I think you guys have this screen up. Yes. All right. So here's the last 10 years of guys that are shooting less than 2 free throws per 36 minutes. And here's Trey from last year at 1.8. And here's the best of the group, organized by win share. So Jose Calderon, Jason Kidd, Damon Jones for a year in Miami. Kidd again. Jose Calderon. Kidd, Jose Calderon. Rafer Alston, Damon Stoudemire, Luther Head. Not a lot of point guards here. Jason Williams at 34 in Orlando. Jason Williams at 29. Gary Payton at 37. Jordan Farmar in LA before he goes out of the league for a while. Steve Blake keeps popping up. This is a more telling list, right? There just aren't Mo Williams at 31. There just aren't a lot of guys in the NBA playing point guard at a high level at 1.8. Here's Trey Burke, 1.8 free throws, and this is the whole list. Trey Burke had actually the lowest win share of anyone on this. You got to get to the line at a higher rate than 1.8 shots per 36 minutes, and if he doesn't figure out how to do it, I don't want to be daunting, but it's daunting, particularly because if you look at the guys that had success on this latest search, Calderon's at 52%, Calderon's at 49%. Jason Kidd was not a great shooter and learned how to do it, but now you start dropping, and we have a high level of minutes played here, but you start dropping under 40% shooting, which I think Trey will get above, and below that level of free throws, and it's not great. So anyway, that wasn't the intention of where that conversation was going, but I think it's relevant to this whole Kemba Walker. I mean, the first thing for Trey is he's got to establish himself as a bona fide NBA player, is I guess what I'm saying. And then the second thing I would say on that is Trey has to, then once we get to the free throw line, he becomes very similar to Kemba. And the other thing in Zach Lowe's piece that jumped out was that, quote, at least a half dozen wing players can decline 15, 16 player options and jump into the free agency fray. Monte Ellis, Aaron Aflalo, and in your mind, by the way, when I read this in relevance to the Utah Jazz, think to yourself, would I rather have this guy or Alec Burks? Monte Ellis, Aaron Aflalo, Jeff Green, Luol Deng, Dwayne Wade, Gerald Henderson, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, Alec Burks, Wesley Matthews, Rudy Gay, and Danny Green. So there's a real potential that market that Alec is about to venture into is oversaturated with wings, unlike last year's market, which was undersaturated with wings, as Lance Stevenson and Gordon Hayward profited off of. So I thought that I was unaware of that. I thought that was a worthwhile thing to point out. Yesterday on the show, I was mentioning Alec Burks. His agent is Andy Miller, is one of the more high-power agents in the game. Sometimes those guys are easier for front office guys to deal with because they actually know what they're getting out of them. All right, let me see if there's any questions. I had some other news and notes, but I've gone 28 minutes because that rambling Trey Burke element there. Oh, there are some. Clint Peterson, who wrote that nice piece about all the ways to interact with the Jazz. Which rookie will win the dance-off this year? Gosh, there's so many. Well, actually, Torrey doesn't count as a rookie. Carrick doesn't count as a rookie. Do we have any on the... Jack Cooley is not going to win the dance-off. I'll go with Rodney Hood. He has enough self-confidence to not be freaked out. Brett Sochi from Open Gym. How is Alex outside? It's Alec, not Alex. Outside shot looking, or is he still wanting to drive? Yesterday was awesome. Yesterday he nailed everything. He had the Trey Burke day of a few days ago. So yesterday he was very, very good in Open Gym. Another question from Clint. We had a very nice 1280 The Zone dinner last night. I sent out a picture. They were very kind to invite me. I was very appreciative of that. Did Jake Scott go into a stat coma after yesterday eating between me and DJ? No, Jake and I talked skiing. I don't think we talked a lot of stats at all.
Nate Olson. I know all players at this level are dedicated to the game and want to get better, but is there a player on the Jazz roster that possesses the Kobe-like dedication? Which Jazz players approach the improvement are most impressed with? No, there's nobody. I mean, actually, it's funny because I'm having this huge debate with a buddy of mine who's a huge Larry Bird fan. He's like insisting that Larry Bird had a better work ethic than anybody ever. And I find that so insulting to all the other players. I also kind of find it insulting to Larry Bird. I mean, it's got, it's built in a lot of stuff, but, Magic was the natural talent and Larry Bird was the worker. Okay, that's just close to racist, frankly. But how many times have we all read that, right? But, I mean, Magic worked just as hard as Larry. Both of them were incredible. These guys that are the greatest in the world, Ray Allen shooting, Steve Nash, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they do work harder than everybody else but all of them do. All of the greatest players of all time work at this insane level. Karl Malone, John Stockton, both. Do we have that guy? Probably not. I mean, but we also don't have a guy with that much talent. So, I mean, I think all these guys work to the best of their ability. Some people are just possessed, I guess. So, I don't know how to answer it. Tony Anderson, the past interviews, Faves has always said he spent the season working on overall game. In recent Hoops interview, however, he talked about specifics like extending the range of his jumper. I think the game is that Snyder's influence. I think the game is influencing that. I'm not particularly ecstatic to watch Derek Favors shoot from 18 feet, frankly. I'd like to see Derek Favors move the ball. Quinn's very big on you catch. You either you actually go before you catch is something you'll hear him say. You shoot or you drive, but you don't hold. Whatever you do, you don't hold. So I'd rather see Derek catch and move it than Derek catch and shoot the 18-footer. I'm not, it's not a strength of his. John English, how is Ennis's three-point shoot incoming? I mean, he's working at it, but I have no idea to be able to answer that question honestly. You guys, I give you as much as I can, and I'm not dodging you on that. I'll tell you when I don't know something. I'm perfectly willing to do that. Craig Little, he's really Damien's cousin. How does the Jazz, that's for if you've listened to old tip-offs, how do the Jazz seem to be buying into the ball movement philosophy? Well, I mean, they have no choice because if they don't move the ball, they're not going to play. But the ball's moving in scrimmage. I mean, in open gym, the ball's moving. They're trying to play the game the way Quinn wants it played. Do you think Cantor will start behind because of his knee? Well, he's played limited 5-on-5. Yesterday actually may have been his first 5-on-5, kind of going at it. They've been really, but he's been working hard and he's in good shape. Sure, little. Not. How do I answer this question? Yes, not impactfully. How's that? He should be ready. 33 minutes in the book. Again, on a September 24th. We'll actually have real crap to talk about in like 6 days. I hope you're great. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, the Jazz interaction line is 801-237-38 this year. 237-38. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook at David Locke or Locked on Sports. You can also follow me on Twitter at Locked on Sports, and on Google Plus we have the Locked on Sports community for you. Thanks for being a part of all this. Have a good day and be safe.